In trading, doing nothing is often the hardest yet most profitable decision you'll ever make. By Paul Tudor Jones. Now here's a fact that might shock you. According to data from broker studies, over 80% of retail traders lose money, not because of lack of strategy, but because of overtrading. Think about that for a second. Not because they can't read charts, not because they don't understand risk management, but because they can't stop themselves from clicking that button again and again, chasing that next high. Overtrading isn't just a trading mistake, it's a psychological addiction. It's the silent killer of consistency. Every trader begins with discipline. They read the books, follow the plan, and promise themselves, "I'll trade only the best setups." But then the market moves fast. One missed opportunity, one candle spike, one moment of FOMO, and that discipline shatters. That's when overtrading takes over. There's a trader named Daniel, a real story that echoes what thousands of traders live through every week. He started small, a $5,000 account. He followed his plan for weeks. One trade a day, proper stop loss, perfect patience. Slowly, he grew that account to $8,000. But then one morning, he watched a big move he didn't catch. He said, "I missed it. I should have been in that trade." That single thought planted the seed of overtrading. He entered the next setup early. It went against him, small loss. He doubled down to recover, then another loss. By afternoon, his screen was filled with positions, 10, 12, 14 open trades. No plan, no logic, just desperation. By the end of that week, his $8,000 was down to $3,200. Daniel didn't lose because he was wrong. He lost because he couldn't stop. His problem wasn't the market, it was his mind. That's overtrading. It's not about how many trades you make, it's about the reason you make them. Most traders think they're in control until emotion takes the wheel. What really drives overtrading? It's not greed alone, it's the illusion of control. The belief that if I trade more, I'll make more. But in markets, doing more often means earning less. Psychologists call this the illusion of productivity. You feel productive because you're active, but you're not being effective. Now let's bring in a legend. Jesse Livermore, one of the greatest traders in history, once said, "It never was my thinking that made the big money for me. It was always my sitting." Livermore made and lost several fortunes, and every time he lost, it wasn't bad analysis, it was overtrading. That urge to always be in the market. Even a genius like Livermore couldn't escape the addiction to action. So if Livermore struggled with it, imagine how dangerous it is for modern traders surrounded by instant quotes, mobile apps, and 24-hour markets. Overtrading is like trying to drink from a fire hose. You're overwhelmed by information, you mistake movement for opportunity, and you end up drowning in noise. Let me ask you something. How many times have you entered a trade just because you were bored? How many times did you say, "I'll just scalp this one quickly," and ended up breaking your rules? That's how it starts. Tiny moments of impatience that destroy months of progress. Trading is not about doing more, it's about waiting more. The best traders are not hunters, they're snipers. They don't fire at every sound. They wait, they watch, and they conserve their energy for the high probability shot. Overtraders, on the other hand, fire at every noise, every flicker, every candle. They drain their focus before the real opportunity even arrives. Maybe right now you're living Daniel's story. Maybe you've had a great week and then gave it all back the next day because you couldn't stop. Maybe you felt that rush after a winning streak and thought, "I'm on fire today, let's push it." And suddenly, you're trading emotionally, not strategically. That's how overtrading destroys traders, not instantly, but slowly, through repeated lapses in emotional control. Overtrading releases dopamine, the same chemical that makes gambling addictive. Every click, every notification triggers a tiny hit of anticipation. It's not even the profit you crave, it's the action. That's why you feel restless when you're not trading. That's why silence feels uncomfortable. That's why even when your plan says wait, your hand still moves toward the mouse. It's not impatience, it's your brain chemistry working against your discipline. But here's the truth you must remember. The market doesn't reward action, it rewards accuracy. There's a reason why professional traders make fewer trades but earn more consistently. They know that restraint is a skill. They understand that the best trade you'll ever make is the one you don't take. So if 80% of traders lose money from overtrading, your advantage isn't being faster, it's being more patient. Overtrading feeds your ego. Discipline feeds your account. As trading psychologist Mark Douglas said, in trading in the zone, the consistency you seek is born out of a carefree state of mind. That state doesn't come from trading more, it comes from trusting your edge and waiting for it to appear. As we move into part 2, we'll uncover the psychological traps that trigger overtrading and how to train your mind to recognize those triggers before they destroy your profits. Because understanding the why behind your overtrading is the first step to ending it forever.
Every trader wants control. But in the market, the more you try to control, the more control slips away. Overtrading isn't a decision, it's a reaction. It's your mind reacting to pressure, temptation, and noise. To break free, you must understand the 5 hidden traps that fuel it, the mental shortcuts that push even smart traders into self-destruction. The first trap is FOMO, the fear of missing out. This is the silent whisper that says, "What if the market runs without me?" It's the voice that doesn't let you sit still when a candle shoots up or a news headline flashes green. It convinces you that every move you miss is money lost. But here's the truth. Missing a trade never costs as much as chasing one. A missed opportunity only hurts your ego. A forced trade hurts your account. Professional traders don't chase, they choose. They know that opportunities in the market are like buses. Miss one, and another always comes. But FOMO tricks you into believing it's the last bus you'll ever see. And that's how it turns patience into panic. The second trap is revenge trading, one of the most dangerous habits a trader can develop. You take a loss, small, manageable, but it burns. You feel wronged by the market, betrayed by your own analysis. You tell yourself, "I'll get it back." That's the moment discipline dies. You stop trading your plan and start trading your emotions. You're not analyzing, you're avenging. The market becomes your opponent instead of your environment. Every revenge trade is like trying to fight fire with gasoline. You may win once, but you'll lose 10 times trying. As the great trader Paul Tudor Jones said, "Losers average losers." The best traders know, when emotions rise, capital falls. The third trap is the illusion of control. This one destroys more traders than bad setups ever could. You feel confident after a few wins, your analysis clicks, and suddenly you think you've cracked the code. You start believing that your control determines the outcome, not probability. You begin forcing trades because your ego whispers, "You can handle it." The illusion of control blinds you to randomness. Markets don't reward confidence, they reward consistency. The more you try to control the uncontrollable, the faster your balance evaporates. You start seeing patterns that don't exist, setups that aren't valid, and your objectivity disappears. This illusion is powerful because it feels good until it empties your account. The fifth trap is the dopamine cycle. This one is biological. Every time you enter a trade, your brain releases dopamine, the same pleasure chemical triggered by gambling, gaming, or even social media. You become addicted to the anticipation of profit more than profit itself. That's why traders say, "I just love being in the market." It's not the market, it's the chemical rush. You start trading for stimulation instead of strategy. When you win, you want to win more. When you lose, you want to recover fast to feel that rush again. Either way, you end up trapped in a loop of constant trading, exhausted, reactive, and inconsistent. These 5 traps, FOMO, revenge trading, illusion of control, loss aversion, and the dopamine cycle, form a psychological cage. Most traders live inside that cage for years without realizing it. They think they need a better strategy, a better indicator, a better mentor, when in reality, they need a better relationship with themselves. Let's take a lesson from Mark Minervini, one of the US investing champions. He said, "The market rewards discipline, not frequency." Minervini went months without trading because he waited for the right setup. But when it came, he executed with conviction. That's what separates winners from overtraders. The patience to do nothing is the hardest skill to master, yet the most profitable one to learn. So, how do you break these traps? Awareness is the first step. You can't fight what you don't see. Start by tracking your behavior. After every trade, ask yourself, did I take this because it met my plan, or because I was bored, scared, or emotional? Write it down. You'll be shocked by how many trades are triggered by feelings, not signals. Next, use what I call the pause rule. Before every trade, take a 10-second pause. Breathe. Ask yourself, am I calm? Am I objective? Or am I reacting? Those 10 seconds can save you thousands of dollars, because that moment of awareness interrupts the automatic cycle. It reminds your brain that you're in control, not your impulses. Another way is the daily trade limit. Many professionals use this to train restraint. Decide in advance, I will take only 2 trades today, win or lose. When you reach that number, you're done. This rule turns quantity into quality. It forces you to focus only on your best setups. And when you limit yourself, your brain begins to value each decision more. Remember, every click costs mental energy. Every chart you open consumes focus. The more you trade, the less clarity you have. Overtrading isn't just about money, it's about energy management. The trader who protects his energy outlasts the trader who burns it all in one day. Here's the paradox. Most traders think success comes from doing more, but in reality, the market pays those who wait more, not work more. Overtrading is effort without intelligence. Discipline is intelligence in action. The difference between the two defines your future as a trader. So, before we move into part 3, let me leave you with this thought. The market doesn't punish you for missing trades. It punishes you for forcing them. You don't need to trade every day to be a trader. You need to trade right. And sometimes, the most powerful move you can make is to do nothing.
There's a moment every trader faces when the charts start to blur, the heart beats faster, and your confidence quietly fades. You're staring at the screen not to analyze, but to survive. That's not trading anymore. That's burnout. Emotional burnout is what happens when your mind and emotions can't keep up with your trading pace. It's the direct result of overtrading, and it's more dangerous than any losing streak, because once your mental capital is gone, no technical skill can save you. Let's break this down. Every decision in trading costs energy. Every trade, every chart, every alert, all of it drains your cognitive battery. The problem with overtrading is not only financial loss, it's mental depletion. You start your day sharp, confident, and focused, but after 5, 10, 15 trades, you're not the same person. Your focus narrows, your patience disappears, and your emotional resistance collapses. You start reacting instead of thinking. That's when traders spiral. They begin forcing trades just to feel in control again. But every forced trade deepens the fatigue, the anxiety, and the frustration. It's a vicious cycle. The more you trade, the more tired you become, and the more mistakes you make. Psychologists call this decision fatigue. It's the gradual decline in your ability to make rational choices after too many decisions. The average person makes around 35,000 decisions per day. For traders, that number doubles. Every tick, every candle, every hesitation is a micro-decision. That's why you feel mentally drained even after just a few hours on the screen. Now let's look at a real example. Marty Swartz, also known as Pitbull, was one of the most successful traders on Wall Street. He once said, "After I made my money, I discovered that my biggest enemy wasn't the market, it was myself." Swartz admitted that his burnout came not from losing trades, but from overtrading. He described days when he'd take 30, 40 positions, thinking he was in control, until one day he realized he was addicted to the action, not the results. When he learned to slow down, his results changed. He started making fewer trades but bigger profits. His focus improved, his discipline sharpened, and he began to enjoy trading again. That's the difference between the burned-out trader and the disciplined one. Energy management. Burnout isn't just mental, it's emotional. It starts quietly, sleepless nights, constant checking of charts, a subtle fear that you're missing something. Then it grows. You become irritable, unfocused, even anxious when you're not in a trade. Eventually, you lose interest in things you once enjoyed. That's not passion anymore. That's pressure disguised as purpose.
When you overtrade, your nervous system goes into constant fight or flight mode. Adrenaline spikes, cortisol floods your system. Your body thinks you're in danger because emotionally you are. You're gambling with your peace. You're burning energy that should be reserved for clarity. Here's the truth few traders admit. Burnout doesn't show up in your P&L first. It shows up in your attitude. You start doubting your strategy. You start breaking your own rules. You start saying things like, just one more trade, or I'll recover it by the end of the day. Those phrases are not confidence. They're signs of emotional fatigue. And when fatigue takes over, you lose the ability to recognize good opportunities. The brain under stress looks for relief, not accuracy. That's why overtraders often end up in a cycle of repeated mistakes. Same emotional setup, different day. You're not learning, you're looping. Think about it like this. Imagine a boxer who throws punches for 12 rounds straight without defense. Even if he's strong, he's going to get knocked out eventually, not because of weakness, but exhaustion. Overtrading is that same mistake. You fight the market without resting, and eventually you punch yourself out. But the great ones know when to stop swinging. Paul Tudor Jones once said, "Every day I assume every position I have is wrong." He doesn't overtrade because he respects risk and energy. He understands that survival comes before success. That's the mindset that saves traders from burnout, humility, and rest. Here's a question I want you to ask yourself. When was the last time I took a break from the market, not because I was losing, but because I was tired? If your answer is never, then burnout is closer than you think. Because overtrading isn't just a habit, it's a slow erosion of mental strength. So, how do you recover from emotional burnout? The first step is detachment. You must learn to separate your identity from your trading performance. You are not your last trade. You are not your account balance. You are a student of the market, and students rest to learn better. The second step is routine reset. Start creating structure. Set a start time and an end time for trading. No charts after that. No checking trades before bed. Give your mind permission to rest, because a mind that never stops analyzing will soon stop understanding. The third step is refocusing your goals. Most traders chase profits. Professionals chase process. Instead of asking, "How much did I make today?" ask, "Did I follow my plan today?" That shift rebuilds your emotional foundation. It turns trading from chaos into craft. And finally, the fourth step is reconnecting with purpose. Remember why you started. It wasn't to stare at screens until your eyes hurt. It was for freedom, financial, emotional, and mental. Burnout steals that freedom, so take it back by slowing down. Here's something most people don't know. The best traders take breaks on purpose. They step away even during winning streaks to preserve their edge, because they know that consistency doesn't come from nonstop activity. It comes from sustainable focus. When you trade tired, you don't just lose money, you lose perspective. You stop seeing the market as opportunity and start seeing it as an enemy. That's when you know burnout has taken over. So take this message seriously. The most dangerous trade isn't the one that loses money. It's the one that drains your mind. You can recover lost capital, but not lost clarity. Guard it like your greatest asset. As we move into part 4, we'll explore how to build emotional discipline, the methods elite traders use to regulate their impulses, stay calm under pressure, and rebuild control over their trading psychology. Because the opposite of overtrading isn't undertrading, it's intentional trading. And once you master that, you stop reacting to the market and start commanding it.
Every trader eventually learns that discipline is more valuable than strategy. Because without emotional control, even the best plan collapses under pressure. You don't need more trades, you need more patience, more control, and more mastery over your own impulses. Let's be honest, it's not easy. Discipline in trading is like walking a tightrope between fear and greed. One wrong step and you fall. The problem is that most traders try to control the market instead of controlling themselves. They want to control outcomes, not actions. But the only thing you ever truly control is your response. As Mark Douglas wrote in Trading in the Zone, the market has no power over you. You give it power when you react emotionally. Think about that. Every time you panic, chase, or overtrade, you're not reacting to the market. You're reacting to your thoughts about the market.
So how do you rebuild control once emotion has taken over? How do you train yourself to stay calm when the chart is screaming, when your balance is flashing red, and your instincts are begging you to click again? The answer begins with awareness. Step 1. Observe your impulses before you act. The best traders are not emotionless, they are emotionally aware. They still feel excitement, fear, frustration, but they notice those emotions in real time before reacting to them. When you learn to see your emotion in real time, you separate yourself from it. That's the first layer of control. Here's a practical exercise used by performance coaches. Before you enter any trade, ask yourself 3 quick questions. 1. What am I feeling right now? 2. Is this trade part of my plan? 3. What happens if I don't take it? If your answer to the last question makes you anxious, that's not opportunity, that's emotion. Walk away. Step 2. Build a pre-trading ritual. Discipline begins before the trade. The same way athletes warm up before competition, traders must prime their state before execution. A short daily ritual helps anchor your mind. It could be 5 minutes of deep breathing, reviewing your plan, or writing down one sentence. Today, I trade my edge, not my emotions. Ritual creates consistency, and consistency kills chaos. Step 3. Control your environment. The more distractions around you, the weaker your discipline becomes. Every sound, every notification, every news headline can trigger impulsive reactions. Build your trading space like a cockpit. Calm, clean, focused. No unnecessary screens, no open social media. When your environment is disciplined, your behavior follows. Step 4. Redefine success. Most traders lose discipline because their definition of success is distorted. They think success means winning every trade, but real success in trading means executing your plan perfectly regardless of outcome. You can win money with bad discipline, but that's a dangerous victory. It reinforces chaos. A disciplined trader celebrates following the plan, not random profit. Step 5. Use planned breaks as a weapon. Every professional trader knows the power of stepping away. When emotion rises, your perception distorts. You start seeing things that aren't there. A 5-minute break can reset your mind faster than any strategy. Paul Tudor Jones used to leave his desk after big wins and losses, not because he was weak, but because he understood strength isn't about constant presence, it's about knowing when to step back. One of the most disciplined traders in history, Bruce Kovner, once said, "You have to be willing to make mistakes regularly. There is nothing wrong with it, but if you lose your discipline, everything else falls apart." Kovner's calmness wasn't natural, it was trained. He treated his emotions like data. Every strong reaction was a signal to pause, not to act. That mindset kept him from the emotional traps that destroy average traders. Another great example is Mark Minervini. He said, "I never let one day define me." Think about that. Discipline isn't just control in the moment, it's also perspective. One bad day doesn't define your journey. One impulsive trade doesn't end your career. But if you let that moment turn into a habit, that's when it becomes a pattern, and patterns define traders. Now let's talk about one of the hardest truths. Discipline is boring. It's repetitive. It's quiet. There are no fireworks when you skip a bad trade, no dopamine rush when you sit out. But that's the beauty of it. The boring habits create the exciting results. Every patient decision adds another brick to your foundation of consistency. Discipline in trading is like muscle memory. The more you practice it, the stronger it gets. The less you respect it, the weaker it becomes. You can't think your way to discipline. You must train it daily through small, consistent actions. Here's one practical system that helps rebuild control: the one rule method. Pick one non-negotiable rule for the next 30 days. It could be, I will take only 2 trades per day, or I will not trade after 2 losses. Follow that rule with absolute commitment. Don't worry about profit or loss, just stay loyal to the rule. After 30 days, your brain starts associating structure with safety. That's how self-control becomes instinctive. Remember this: overtrading is emotional chaos. Discipline is emotional order. One drains your account, the other protects it. Your goal is not to avoid emotion, but to manage it through preparation, repetition, and purpose. Now, let's address something that many traders ignore. Discipline is deeply connected to self-respect. Every time you break your rule, you lose trust in yourself. You begin to doubt your judgment, your confidence, your consistency. But every time you keep your promise, you build inner strength. Confidence isn't created by winning trades. It's built by keeping commitments, even when no one is watching. So here's the question. When your emotions rise, do you still trust yourself to stay calm? Because that's the true measure of mastery. The traders who last decades aren't the ones who trade the most. They're the ones who can control themselves when others can't. They understand that discipline is the bridge between knowledge and profit. Before we move to part 5, remember this. The market doesn't test your skill. It tests your self-control. Every candlestick is an emotional test disguised as opportunity. And every time you choose patience over impulse, you pass that test. In the next part, we'll explore how to create a powerful trading routine, a structure that automatically limits overtrading and builds consistency, even when emotions rise. Because if discipline is the muscle, then routine is the gym where you train it.
Every professional trader you've ever admired has one thing in common: structure. It's not just their strategy or their capital, it's the way they manage their day. Because when your trading day has no structure, your emotions take over the structure for you. And emotions always build chaos. If you don't control your routine will control you. That's why the first step toward ending overtrading isn't about learning another indicator. It's about designing a day that disciplines your decisions. Let's be real, overtrading isn't just a mistake. It's a pattern born from lack of structure. You wake up late, open your charts too fast, skip your plan, and jump into a random setup. You lose, you react, you trade again. That's not trading. That's emotional gambling in disguise. But here's the truth. Once you install a solid daily routine, overtrading becomes nearly impossible. Because structure limits chaos. When your day has clear boundaries, your emotions can't sneak in through the cracks. So let's build it step by step, a structure that mirrors how world-class traders operate. Step 1. The morning reset. The first hour of your day decides the next 6. Before you open any chart or news feed, you must center your focus. A great trader named Ray Dalio once said, "If you can't control your emotions, you can't control your money." So before you trade, control your mind. Do something physical, stretch, breathe, step outside for sunlight. You're not training your body, you're resetting your nervous system. When your heart rate is calm, your brain makes better decisions. Then move to your morning trading journal. Write 3 lines: your emotional state, your market focus, and your risk limit. Example, feeling calm, focus on Euro USD, risk limit 1%. It sounds simple, but it anchors your intention. Most traders lose focus because they start their day without one. Step 2, the market observation phase. Never trade the first movement you see. The best traders spend the first 30 to 60 minutes observing price action. They study behavior, not direction. Think of it like a hunter, patient, focused, unseen. Observation sharpens discipline. You begin to see the rhythm of the market, not just the noise. Remember, patience isn't waiting. Patience is preparation. Step 3, the trading window. Here's the key. Successful traders don't stare at charts all day. They limit their decision window. Paul Tudor Jones once said, "Don't be a hero, don't have an ego, always question yourself and your ability." That quote defines structure. Set specific hours when you're allowed to trade and stay disciplined outside those hours. For example, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m., then stop. The rest of the day belongs to review, not reaction. This single rule cuts overtrading by half. Step 4, the rule of 2. This rule changed lives for many traders. Only take 2 trades per session. If both lose, stop for the day. If both win, stop for the day. Why? Because the third trade is almost always emotional. It's revenge, excitement, or overconfidence disguised as opportunity. Jesse Livermore, the legendary trader who both made and lost millions, said, "It was never my thinking that made the big money. It was my sitting." The power of sitting out is what separates disciplined traders from emotional ones.
Step 5. The midday cool down. After your trading session, step away. Walk, stretch, breathe, anything that disconnects you from screens. This is not laziness, this is emotional maintenance. Every trade, win or lose, drains mental energy. If you don't recharge, your next trade will come from fatigue, not logic. You can't win tomorrow with a burnout mind. Step 6. The review hour. At the end of each day, do a quick trade autopsy. Write down only 2 things: what decision was logical and what decision was emotional. You'll start noticing patterns, and once you see your pattern, you can change it. Mark Douglas taught this as the power of neutral awareness, observing without judgment. Don't criticize yourself, analyze yourself. Step 7. The shutdown ritual. Before you leave your desk, close all charts and platforms. Say this out loud: the market doesn't need me right now. It's symbolic. It separates your trader identity from your human identity. When you leave the charts behind, you train your mind to disconnect. This creates mental freshness for the next day. That's the daily structure that top traders live by. But let's take it further. What about the weekly and monthly rhythm? Weekly routine. Every weekend, review your week. Not your profits, but your discipline score. Ask yourself, how many times did I follow my plan? Rate yourself 1 to 10. If it's below 7, reduce trade frequency next week. If it's above 8, reward yourself, not with a risky trade, but with time off. You're reinforcing consistency, not greed. Monthly routine. At the end of each month, read your journal from start to finish. You'll see something powerful, a psychological map of your growth. You'll notice the exact moments when emotions took control and the moments when discipline led. This reflection transforms trading from chaos to clarity. Now listen closely. Your trading routine is your mental firewall. It blocks the virus of overtrading before it infects your behavior. When your structure is strong, your impulses have nowhere to hide. When your day is planned, you stop being reactive and start being intentional. Most traders think success comes from adding more indicators, more charts, more strategies. But real success comes from subtracting the unnecessary. You don't need more trades, you need more clarity. You don't need more setups, you need more control. And control doesn't come from willpower, it comes from structure. Let me share a simple but powerful truth from a prop firm manager in London. He once told his traders, the moment you stop trading your schedule and start trading your emotions, you're already losing. That line stayed with me because that's where overtrading begins. A trading routine is not just about discipline, it's about freedom. When you have a routine, you don't wake up stressed about what to do. Your plan decides that for you. You conserve energy for execution, not confusion. You feel calm because there's order in your process. Let's make this personal. If your current trading feels chaotic, your goal this week is not to make money. Your goal is to design your structure. Write it down. Follow it for 7 days. You'll notice the noise fading. You'll notice the urge to overtrade disappearing. Because once the mind knows its limits, it finds peace inside them. And when your trading becomes structured, that's when profit becomes consistent. Because consistency isn't created by luck or prediction. It's created by repetition. As we move into part 6, we'll go deeper into the mindset shift that locks this routine into your identity. How to think like a trader who protects capital, not one that chases chaos. Because once your mind aligns with your method, overtrading stops, not because you resist it, but because you no longer need it.
Every trader dreams of financial freedom, but very few realize that freedom doesn't come from trading more. It comes from trading better. It's not about how many trades you take, it's about how many you control. And that control starts in the mind. Here's the truth. Markets don't destroy traders. Mindsets do. Overtraders live in reaction mode. They chase the market. They fear missing out. They feel restless when they're not in a trade, like silence itself is uncomfortable. They need movement to feel alive. But professional traders, they think differently. They know that every click costs mental energy. Every trade carries opportunity cost. They don't measure their success by number of trades, but by the quality of decisions. That's the shift from overtrader to strategist. To make that shift,
you must first understand how overtrading rewires your brain. Every impulsive trade releases dopamine, the same chemical that fuels addiction. It gives a short burst of excitement. You feel powerful, engaged, alive. But the crash that follows when the trade goes wrong is emotional pain. That pain triggers another urge, another trade. The cycle continues. It's not lack of skill that ruins traders. It's addiction to action. Overtrading is emotional gambling disguised as productivity. You're not trading for profit anymore. You're trading for feeling. Now compare that with how great traders operate. They get their dopamine from discipline, from the satisfaction of following their plan, from the calmness of sitting on the sidelines while others panic. Let's look at Warren Buffett, one of the most patient investors in history. He once said, "The stock market is a device for transferring money from the impatient to the patient." That's not philosophy, that's psychology. Overtraders give their money to thinkers who wait, because patience isn't weakness, it's strategy. And Paul Tudor Jones, another trading legend, said, "Don't focus on making money, focus on protecting what you have." That's the voice of a strategic thinker. Protection first, profit second. So how do you make this mindset shift? Let's break it down. 1. Shift from outcome obsession to process obsession. Overtraders wake up thinking, how much can I make today? Strategic thinkers wake up asking, how well can I execute today? The difference is focus. The first chases money. The second builds mastery. When you focus on process, money follows naturally. When you focus on money, process falls apart. Every professional trader journals their process, not to record wins, but to measure decisions. Mark Douglas used to tell traders, your job is not to predict the market. Your job is to execute flawlessly. That's the mindset of consistency. 2. Shift from urgency to timing. Overtraders think every tick is opportunity. Strategic thinkers understand that timing is everything. They wait for high-probability moments, setups that align with their rules. You can't catch every move. You only need the right ones. Think of George Soros. He didn't trade every day. He waited for high asymmetric opportunities, moments where risk was small and reward was massive. He once said, "It's not whether you're right or wrong that's important, but how much you make when you're right and how much you lose when you're wrong." That's the essence of strategic thinking, selective aggression. 4. Shift from ego to probability. Overtraders want to prove they're right. Strategic thinkers want to protect their edge. They don't tie self-worth to a single trade. They understand probabilities that even a good setup can lose. They play the long game. When you let go of ego, you stop fighting the market. You start listening to it. That's why the best traders look calm, because their confidence comes from logic, not emotion. 5. Shift from trading for excitement to trading for mastery. This is the most important shift of all. Overtraders seek adrenaline. Strategic thinkers seek improvement. One wants stimulation, the other wants skill. The thrill fades, but mastery compounds. If you trade for excitement, your account becomes entertainment. If you trade for mastery, your account becomes freedom. Let's take an example. There was a trader named Alex, young, ambitious, always chasing setups. He'd open 10 trades in a day, hoping one would explode. Sometimes he'd make quick money, but by the end of the month he was drained and inconsistent. One day after his third losing week, his mentor told him, "You're not losing to the market, you're losing to your impatience." That hit him hard. He changed his approach. He limited himself to 2 setups a day, started journaling, took breaks between trades. Within months, his win rate didn't just improve, his stress disappeared. He didn't just change his trades, he changed his thinking. That's what real transformation looks like. The shift from chaos to control, from excitement to excellence. Because when you stop trying to force the market to move your way, you start moving with the market's rhythm. You trade less, but earn more. You stop reacting and start responding. You move from chasing money to attracting it. Here's a simple reminder. Your value as a trader is not measured by how busy you look on the charts. It's measured by how clear your mind stays under pressure. A calm trader sees opportunity where others see noise. A strategic thinker makes money by not trading when conditions are wrong. Remember, every trade you take is a reflection of your mindset at that moment. An impulsive trade says, "I need something to happen." A strategic trade says, "I'm waiting for alignment." That's the difference between surviving the markets and mastering them. Trading is not a game of speed. It's a game of endurance. You're not racing against other traders. You're competing against your own impatience. When you learn to slow down your mind, your profits speed up naturally. Here's a quote I want you to remember. The market rewards discipline, not activity. Print it, repeat it, live by it. Because the more you understand this truth, the more peaceful your trading becomes. You stop overtrading because you no longer crave the rush. You stop chasing setups because you trust your system. And you stop forcing results because you finally aligned your mind with your method. This is the mindset that builds longevity, the mindset that transforms traders into professionals, the mindset that ends overtrading, not by fear, but by understanding. In the next part, we'll close this journey with the ultimate lesson: how to protect your profits, maintain mental balance, and turn trading from emotional warfare into a disciplined art. Because consistency isn't just about what you trade, it's about who you become while trading.
You can't master trading until you master yourself. That's the truth every successful trader eventually learns, sometimes the hard way. Because trading isn't just about charts or indicators, it's about your reactions, your patience, your peace of mind. Think about it. How many times have you made a great trade only to give it all back hours later? Not because your strategy failed, but because your emotions took control. That's the silent destroyer. Not losses, but the need to act after winning or losing. Overtrading doesn't only break accounts, it breaks balance. It's emotional exhaustion disguised as discipline. And emotional instability is the fastest path to losing what you worked so hard to build. So today, let's talk about protecting profits, not just with technical skill, but with psychological armor. Because protecting profit doesn't start at the end of a trade, it starts the moment you take it. Most traders believe a win gives them permission to keep going. But professionals see a win as a signal to pause, not to press harder. Why? Because every win changes your state of mind. It feeds confidence and sometimes overconfidence. That's when overtrading quietly slips in. You start believing you're untouchable. You stop following your rules, thinking you're in the zone. But that's not focus. That's emotional momentum, and it's dangerous. Paul Tudor Jones once said, "Losers average losers." He wasn't just talking about numbers. He was warning traders to protect their capital like soldiers protect their shields. Because in trading, your capital is your weapon, and your calmness is your armor. There are 3 unseen strengths every great trader builds, though they don't talk about them much. The first is detachment. The second is emotional balance. The third is the discipline to protect profit. Let's start with detachment. Detachment isn't coldness, it's control. It means you care enough to think clearly. You stop saying, "I hope this works," and start saying, "If it doesn't, I'll adapt." You stop taking trades personally because the market isn't personal, it's testing you. And when you detach from outcomes, your logic finally leads. Professional traders often use what's called the end of trade disconnect. After every position closes, they take a minute, breathe, stand, or step away. That 1 minute separates their last emotion from their next decision. It's how they reset their mind before the next wave. Then comes emotional balance. Trading brings highs and lows, excitement, fear, pride, regret. You can't stop them, but you can rebalance them. When you win big, whisper to yourself, "It was one trade." When you lose, whisper again, "It was one trade." The same sentence calms both storms. Because real consistency lives in the middle, not in the highs, not in the lows. And that middle ground, that neutrality,
is where professionals live. They're not emotionless, they're emotionally balanced. And finally, the discipline of protecting profit. The best traders don't let greed take back what patience earned. They have personal boundaries. They stop trading after reaching their goal. They walk away while they're still ahead. Because protecting profit isn't greed, it's gratitude. It says, I respect what I've earned enough to stop. That's not weakness, that's wisdom. Jesse Livermore learned this lesson through fortune and failure. He made millions and lost them more than once. Every time, it wasn't the market that defeated him, it was emotion. He once said, it was never my thinking that made me money, it was my sitting. He understood patience, but even he struggled to live by it. And that's the reality of overtrading. Knowing better, but not doing better. Then there's Ed Seykota, one of the early legends of system trading. He said, win or lose, everybody gets what they want out of the market. If you want excitement, you'll find chaos. If you want validation, you'll find ego battles. But if you want freedom, you'll find discipline. Because the market always mirrors what's inside you. So ask yourself, what do you truly want from trading? Because that answer shapes your emotional habits. If you trade to escape boredom, you'll overtrade. If you trade to feel powerful, you'll chase risk. But if you trade to build peace and freedom, you'll start respecting patience. Because true traders don't need to trade every candle, they wait for the right one. The market doesn't reward movement, it rewards mastery. You don't need 100 trades a month, you need a few great ones, backed by calmness, clarity, and control. Protecting profit isn't greed, it's maturity. It's realizing that wealth isn't built by taking more, it's built by keeping more. Because compounding only works for the trader who survives long enough to see it. And survival comes only from emotional stability. So when emotion rises, pause, breathe, step back. The longer you wait before reacting, the smarter your next move becomes. Because clarity always returns to the calm mind. Imagine two traders. Both start with the same capital. One trades 5 times, wins some, loses more, ends the day exhausted. The other waits, makes one strong move, locks profit, walks away confident. Same skill, same market, different mindset. One traded emotion, the other traded patience. That's the true difference between amateurs and professionals. You don't need to outsmart the market, you need to outdiscipline yourself. You don't need to predict, you need to protect. So from this moment on, make this your declaration. I will protect my capital. I will respect my process. I will not let emotions dictate my trades. Say it every day until it becomes your instinct. Because when you master emotional stability, profits stop slipping away. Your decisions sharpen, your stress fades, your consistency begins. And when that happens, you are no longer an overtrader, you're a professional, a thinker, a protector of profits. Because the real victory in trading isn't how much you make, it's how much you keep and how calm you remain while keeping it. And if you want to keep mastering that mindset, to grow stronger, steadier, and smarter every week, subscribe now to Mind for Trade. Join a community built for traders who think deeper, act wiser, and trade with discipline. Because this isn't more than just trading. This is the psychology of success.